Hello, and welcome back to the Sleep Hotel. Anytime you arrive here, in the evening or when you need rest, the soft glow of lanterns lights your path, guiding you toward the grand doors. They open without a sound, and at once the world outside and its worries begins to fade away. Within these walls, time slows. Gentle lamplight spills across polished floors, and the hush of the corridor seems to hold you in quiet safety. This is a place for you to rest, to let go of your day. Take a seat in the cushioned chair by the fire. Feel the fabric beneath you, the quiet strength of the room around you. Let the glow of the hearth and the hush of the lobby hold you, like an old friend welcoming you back home. Now, take a slow, easy breath. Inhale deeply and let it out with ease. Do it again in and out. With every breath, imagine setting down the weight of the day, as if you've been carrying too many bags, and now, at last, you can let them go. As you breathe, you may find your body softening. Your shoulders release their tension. Your jaw loosens. Even your hands, which have worked so hard today, begin to relax. Thoughts may still come, but they don't need to stay. Let them drift away, like quiet footsteps fading down a hallway. The Sleep Hotel waits for you patiently, inviting you deeper into stillness. There is no rush, no expectation, just peace. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for this moment, for the simple gift of being alive, for the shelter of your room, for the chance to rest. Know that you deserve this. We all do. And now, as you breathe a little easier, imagine yourself walking further inside the hotel. The lamps glow softly in the evening hush, and one door seems to shine a little brighter than the rest. It has been waiting for you. Tonight, that door will open, and its story will become your dream. The Sleep Hotel did not appear on any map, nor was it found by those who actively sought it. It manifested, it was said, only for those whose weariness was not merely of the body, but of the soul, a deep, echoing fatigue that ordinary rest could not touch. Niall had come to it not by road, but by a gradual fading of the world he knew. The vibrant colors of his room had softened at the edges, blending into a mist that was neither day nor night, until the hotel simply coalesced before him, a silent, sprawling edifice of pale sandstone and smoked glass that seemed to absorb the very light around it. Its entrance was not a grand portico, but a single, deep-set oak door, black and seamless as obsidian, which swung open at his approach as if it had been expecting him for 100 years. He stepped inside, and the hum of the outside world vanished, replaced by a silence so profound it felt like a physical presence, soft and heavy as a blanket of snow. The lobby was a vast, circular room, illuminated by a single, colossal clock face set into the domed ceiling, though it had no hands and its numbers were unfamiliar. elegant symbols that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. The air smelled of ozone, old paper, and a faint, sweet spice like sandalwood and dried violets. There was no front desk, no bustling staff. Instead, a lone figure, an attendant with a face that was both young and impossibly ancient, stood beside a small table on which rested a single brass key attached to a fob of dark, polished wood. The attendant did not speak, but merely nodded towards a long, dim corridor that branched off from the main lobby. Taking the key, Niall saw that the number etched into the wood was not a number at all, but a tiny, intricate carving of a closed eye. As he turned towards the corridor, he felt a peculiar sensation, not of being watched, but of being known, as if the hotel itself was reading the catalogue of his tiredness, selecting the precise room for the restoration he needed. The corridor stretched away into a darkness that seemed to swallow the light from the lobby. It was lined on both sides with doors, each one unique. Some were of dark, carved wood, others of plain, painted steel. One was even a simple, worn tapestry depicting a sleeping lion. He walked slowly, the plush, crimson carpet muffling his footsteps into nothingness. He passed door number 7, which seemed to be made of cool gray river stone, and door number 9, which was a simple screen of woven reeds from behind which came the faint, soothing sound of water. He walked on and on, yet the corridor seemed to lengthen before him, the doors continuing into an impossible distance. It was then he realized the numbers were not sequential. After 12 came not 13, but 5 again, and then 22. There was no logic, no end. Just as a faint tremor of unease began to stir within him, he saw it, a door unlike all the others, from which a soft, golden light emanated from the cracks around its frame. It was not marked with a number, but with the same carved symbol as his key, a closed eye. This was his room. This was the beginning of the velvet hallway. The door opened without a sound onto a room that was not a room, but another hallway. This one, however, was a world apart from the endless, numbered corridor behind him. The walls, the floor, the very ceiling were draped in a fabric of the deepest, softest midnight blue velvet, so dark it was almost black, but shot through with subtle threads of silver that caught the light like distant stars. It was like stepping into the firmament itself. The air was warm and still, carrying a faint, clean scent, like linen dried under a summer Sunday. The hallway was not straight. It curved gently away to the left and right, suggesting a circular or spiral shape, and along its length were niches and alcoves, each one invitingly furnished not with chairs, but with great mounds of cushions and pillows in shades of charcoal, dove gray, and silver. The only light came from shaded lamps set into the walls, their glow so soft and diffuse that it created no shadows, only a gentle, pervasive illumination that soothed the eyes. Niall walked forward, his hand brushing against the velvet wall. It was not a static surface. It seemed to yield ever so slightly to his touch, as if it were breathing, a slow, deep rhythm that was felt more than heard. The silence here was different, from the lobby. That had been an empty silence, a void. This was a full silence, a rich and textured quiet, like the pause between the notes of a profound piece of music. As he moved deeper, he became aware of other, subtler qualities of the hallway. In one alcove, the air was slightly cooler and carried the clean mineral scent of a deep cave, promising a deep, stone-like sleep. In another, it was warmer and hummed with a barely perceptible vibration, like the purr of a contented cat. The hallway was not merely a passage, it was a collection of different silences, each one tailored to a different kind of weariness, a different dream. It understood that sleep was not a single state, but a whole country, with many provinces and climates. He found a niche that felt right, its cushions forming a nest that seemed to shape itself to his body as he settled into it. He looked back the way he had come and saw that the gentle curve of the hallway hid both the entrance and any foreseeable exit. He was enclosed, cocooned in this soft blue world. High above, the silver threads in the velvet ceiling pulsed with a faint, rhythmic light, a silent, visual lullaby. He realized that the velvet hallway was not a place one passed through to get somewhere else. It was the destination itself. Its purpose was not transit, but suspension. It was a place outside of time's flow, a parenthesis in the narrative of one's life, where the story was set aside, and the soul could simply rest in the quiet, dark, listening to the silent music of its own repair. There were no clocks here, no windows to the outside world, only the gentle, constant exhalation of the walls and the soft invitation of the alcoves, each a gateway to a different quality of peace. After a time that could have been minutes or hours, a restfulness deeper than any sleep he had ever known began to seep into his bones. It was then that he noticed the doors. They were not like the door he had entered from the hotel corridor. These were subtle, almost hidden seams in the velvet fabric of the hallway itself. They had no handles or locks. One was simply a slightly different shade of blue, a patch of velvet the color of a twilight sky. Another was discernible only by the pattern of the silver threads, which swirled into the shape of a sleeping songbird. A third seemed to be a deeper shadow within an alcove, a darkness that promised not emptiness, but a profound and dreamless slumber. These were not doors to be opened by hand, but by intention, by a certain quality of thought or a particular flavor of fatigue. The hallway was offering him a choice of dreams. He rose from his cushions and approached the door of the sleeping songbird. As he drew near, he didn't reach out to touch it. Instead, he simply let his mind grow quiet, focusing on the image of the bird. A feeling of lightness, of being unburdened, filled him. In response, the silver threads of the bird seemed to glow brighter, and the velvet within the outline of the door became insubstantial, like a curtain of mist. Beyond, he sensed rather than saw a space of immense height and airiness, filled with the soft murmur of wind through high, unseen branches. It was an invitation to dreams of flight and freedom. He did not enter, but stepped back, and the door solidified once more into impenetrable velvet. It was a library of slumber, and each door was a book whose story could only be read by the subconscious mind. He moved on to the patch of twilight-colored velvet. As he contemplated it, a different feeling arose, a nostalgia for something he couldn't name, a gentle, melancholic warmth. This door seemed to promise dreams of memory, not sharp and painful, but softened by time and distance, like old photographs bathed in the golden light of a late afternoon. Further down the hall, the dark alcove seemed to pull at a deeper, more fundamental tiredness, the weariness of a long journey. It promised pure negation, a sleep without images or stories, a return to the quiet dark before birth. Niall understood now the hotel's profound magic. It did not force a sleep upon you. It presented a menu of rests, allowing the deepest part of oneself to choose the exact medicine required. The velvet hallway was a physician for the soul, and its prescriptions were written in the language of silence and symbol. He was pondering which door to approach when a figure emerged from the curve of the hallway. It was not the attendant from the lobby. This person moved with a fluid grace, their forms seeming to blend with the soft shadows of the velvet walls. They were dressed in garments that were the same midnight blue as the hallway, making them almost invisible until they stepped into the soft glow of a lamp. Their face was serene, ageless, and their eyes were the color of the silver threads in the ceiling, holding a calm, observing light. This, Niall sensed, was the keeper of this inner sanctum. Every guest perceives the hallway differently, the keeper said, their voice a soft murmur that harmonized perfectly with the breathing silence. It was a voice that seemed to originate not from a mouth, but from the hallway itself. For some, it is a forest path. For others, a boat on a still sea. For you, it is velvet and starlight. The form is unimportant. The substance is the same. It is a space between waking and dreaming, a frontier. The keeper gestured with a hand that seemed almost translucent. The doors you see are reflections of doors within yourself, the weariness you carry from your world. It has many chambers. One room may hold a sorrow that needs to be dreamed into peace. Another may hold a joy that needs to be remembered in sleep. The hallway allows you to visit these rooms in the correct order. The keeper did not ask about his life or his troubles. Instead, they pointed towards the door of the sleeping songbird. That one calls to you most strongly tonight. It does not speak of escape, but of perspective. To see one's life from a great height is to understand its true shape, to see the forests instead of getting lost in the trees. Then they turned and began to fade back into the velvet shadows. Do not fear the choices, their voice echoed softly, now seeming to come from all around. There are no wrong turns here. Every path leads to rest. The hotel knows your needs better than you know them yourself. Your only task is to trust and to sleep. And with that, the keeper was gone, leaving Niall alone with the gentle pulse of the starry ceiling and the silent invitation of the doors. Taking the keeper's word as permission, Niall turned back to the door marked with the songbird. He focused again on the feeling of lightness, of release. The velvet shimmered and became transparent. He stepped through, and the sensation was not one of movement, but of transformation. The cocooning warmth of the hallway was instantly replaced by a crisp, cool air that tasted of pine and high altitudes. He was standing on a narrow ledge on the side of a colossal mountain, under a sky ablaze with more stars than he had ever seen. They were not gentle, distant points here, but brilliant, sharp diamonds, so close he felt he could reach out and sweep them into his hand. A sea of clouds blanketed the world far below, glowing with the reflected light of a full silver moon that hung directly overhead. He felt no fear of the immense height, only a profound and exhilarating peace. The worries and frets of his life, the constant buzzing anxiety, were down there, buried beneath that soft white cloud cover. Up here, there was only the clean, cold air, the silent, majestic presence of the mountain, and the brilliant, impartial gaze of the stars. It was a silence of a different order than the velvet hallway, a vast, cosmic quiet that made his own concerns seem infinitesimally small, yet somehow no less precious. They were just a part of the great, sprawling tapestry of existence, no more and no less important than the life of the tiny, hardy flower clinging to a crack in the rock beside him. He sat on the ledge, his legs dangling over the abyss, and simply breathed in and out, his breath a small, warm cloud in the immense, starry night. He did not know how long he sat there, wrapped in the mountain stream. Time had no meaning. The moon did not move. The stars remained fixed in their fiery positions. It was a moment outside of time, a glimpse of eternity. He felt a weight being lifted from him, not by force, but by perspective. The mountain had borne the weight of ages, and the stars had burned for millennia. His own journey was but a brief whisper in that long story, and that realization was not a dismissal, but a liberation. It granted him permission to simply be, without the need to constantly do or become. Finally, a gentle tug, like a soft thread pulling at his heart, drew him back. He closed his eyes on the starlit mountain, and when he opened them, he was once more nestled in the cushions of the velvet hallway, the memory of the cold, clean air and the brilliant stars already softening into a deep, core feeling of tranquility. He must have slept then, a sleep so deep and seamless that it felt like a single, uninterrupted breath. There were no dreams, or if there were, they were of pure color feeling, the blue of the velvet, the silver of the threads, the gentle rhythm of the breathing walls. He awoke not with a jolt, but by a gradual, gentle rising, as if floating to the surface of a still, warm lake. He was back in his niche, wrapped in the soft blankets. The hallway was exactly as it had been, the soft lights glowing, the air still and warm. Yet something fundamental had shifted. The profound weariness that had clung to him like a second skin was gone. In its place was a quiet vitality, a sense of being fully replenished, not just rested, but renewed. He rose and walked back along the curving hallway. This time, the door through which he had entered was immediately visible, a simple rectangle of dark oak set into the velvet. He did not hesitate. As he approached, it swung open, revealing the numbered corridor of the Sleep Hotel. Stepping through was like stepping into a louder, sharper, more defined world. The air was cooler. The light from the lobby clock face was harsher. He looked back once, and the velvet hallway was gone, replaced by a perfectly ordinary, if slightly dusty, hotel wall with a sconce holding an electric bulb. It was as if it had never been, but the feeling inside him was real. The peace of the mountain, the silence of the velvet, were now woven into the fabric of his being. The lobby was empty. The attendant was gone. The main door of the hotel stood open, and beyond it the mist had cleared, revealing a path that led back towards the familiar woods surrounding the starlit lake. Niall walked out, and the door closed silently behind him. He did not try to look back for the hotel. He knew it would have already faded, returning to that hidden dimension where it waited for the next soul in need of its particular magic. He carried its gift within him. He knew that the noise of the world would return, but he also knew that he now possessed a refuge, a velvet hallway of his own mind, a secret, breathing silence he could retreat into whenever the weight became too great. He walked on, not as a man fleeing his life, but as a man returning to it, carrying a piece of the eternal sleep in his wake. And so, my friend, one of the stories of the Sleep Hotel comes gently to a close. The rain continues its soft rhythm. The fire burns slowly, keeping you warm and safe. Here in the Sleep Hotel, the door slowly closes. The golden lamplight around you grows warmer, wrapping you like a blanket. You are safe. You are cared for. Take another slow, easy breath in and out. Let your shoulders sink deeper, your body heavier. Feel the quiet of this moment surrounding you like the hush of a starry night. Remember, you can always return here. Whenever you need rest, whenever you long for peace, these doors will open. For now, let go of the day. Drift into the calm, into stillness, into sleep. Good night, my friend, until we meet again.